Now have we got a very, very exciting week. First thing I'm going to do though is fork the silage in for these heifers before they fall out of me. And yes, we use a fork around here. Much more cost effective than one of them silage pusher things. So, where were we? Oh yes, busy week. Some things I can tell you about, some things I can't tell you about, and some things you're just gonna have to watch and find out about. First things first, we're back on the edge cutter, but I'm getting there. Very slowly, it's happening. Now, I did a very smart thing early on, which was the idea of, let's do all the dry fields and just leave the wet ones because they'll get drier. Now, all I've got left is the wet fields, but Mother Nature's been very kind and given me a bit of a dry week. We have got a couple of grass meadows that I'm going to go and do. They can be a little bit hit and miss, bit wet, whatever, but it is what it is, just got to get on with them. But Dad is down there because he's doing some ditching. My dad is on a mission with the old digger, trying to find some drains. We've got some drains that he wanted to find that he's now ditched and found, and that we've got running, which is good news, which means we're going to get some bits of fields that are dry. He's got some drains that he didn't know existed that he's found, which I guess is good. I mean, I wish we knew they existed before, but at least we've got them going, and that's good. And he's got a drain that Severn Trent have dug through that has been bubbling up and making a mess that he's now found the ends of. He's found the ends of one that runs next to the pipe, one that runs out from the pipe, and he's hoping that he can link them two together so that they don't keep backing up. That's his plan. But we're going to have a look, because kind of interesting, I guess, if you like drains. So I thought I'd just come down here and show you what Dad's been up to. The dog's stopping in the tractor because she don't like getting wet and it's drizzling a little bit. So Dad's been doing this ditch and then he's been going through there. As you can see, the ditch carries on. We'll go around and have a look in a minute. But here's one of the drains. Look at that, pouring water out. It's coming from about where we want to be looking to service the drain. I've tried cutting a hedge down here, but as you can see, got a little bit touch and go for a minute then. So the problem with these drains is that we've got a water main over there, and then we've got another sort of concrete inspection hole up there. There's pipes that run up to that feed Hinckley and Barwell Water Tower, which you can't see Barwell Water Tower from here, but it feeds it over there. And they've been digging pipes in and it's disturbed the drains, and the drains run back to this ditch where Dad's been digging. He's just coming in now, so you can hear the tractor coming. Realistically, what we've been trying to do is find them to try and stop the water, because there's some big holes up there and they're just full of water, and I can't get up there to cut the hedge. We keep having to go around it when we're silaging and grazing and God knows what else, and to be honest, it's becoming a bit of a nightmare. Part of the issue with all of these drains and ditches is just the amount of times that this field over here has been dug up, because if you can see those red markers over there, that is a gas main, and that gas main runs from there across to here. It goes through the hedge, and then if we come this way, it goes from there across the field over to that marker over there. It continues to just keep going in a straight line. Now that's one issue, because they've dug up all this ground and they never put it back right. It's not the same. You can't do it like nature. But also, to get water to that mains, whatever you call that, service station thing, they've had to dig up a huge pipe, and it's massive. I have seen it. It's about 1 meter, maybe even 1.2 meters deep. Like, you feel like you could walk up it. It's huge. From all the way across there, where those woods are in the distance, and it comes all the way across there, comes down our Tudor field, which you can't quite see, comes across the meadows, under the brook line, and comes just next to that gas main, and it goes straight across here and to that service station there. So they've dug that bit up twice and made a right mess. And that's why all the drains are just an absolute state. And my granddad always said that over there they had like a spring that they just couldn't stop. They could not stop this spring running from whatever they disturbed. And in the end, what they ended up doing is putting a pipe to the ditch, and they just dumped an Arctic load of gravel into the hole and was just like, it'll find its way, and just left it. Now from there up to there, it was one single pipe. And that's where the trouble is, because what happened is they needed extra water, so they put a second pipe up there, and that's when they dug through the drains, and the drains run down and come to this ditch at the bottom. Now, as you can see, it's an absolute mud bath, because all those drains are just, well, they're not working, because they've just been messed up. Well, I can see they've got, look at the screen's a mess. Look at that, just fix that. Is that better? So Dad's been just ditching along here and hopefully getting this running. We also have a wet patch, which is sort of from that gas main in that bottom corner which is because the ditch to the other side of that hedge there, where the Christmas trees are, has been messed around with by those guys before. And oh yeah, well, let's not even go there, which is where all this water comes from. So we're just trying to get rid of the water and hopefully find an extra couple of drains that will drain the top end of here and the bottom end of there, and we should, if we're lucky, get the farm looking a little bit better in the spring. And to be fair to the old digger, she's doing a pretty snazzy job, because the old girl, she is a relic, but she's proper old but gold. Like she serves a purpose, and she's keeping things ticking over. It's all right having a digger, but if you're not going to use it, it's not worth it. And the other reason we're trying to get this done is because we want to get some permanent fences up, because I've got this plan that we're going to do 2.5 kilometers of fencing every year for the next 4 years and get the farm fenced. It might be more, it might be less. It's quite optimistic, but it needs doing. Oh, will you stop beeping at me? Balloon update for you. We found 3 more, so that's 24. It's the gift that keeps on giving. When you're up against the wall and you cannot fall, so go off, go off, go off, go off, so go off, go off, go off, go off. When you're running out of luck, need to get unstuck, so go off. When you're up against the wall and you cannot fall, so go off, go off, go off. Okay, so I've got a bit of a confession to make. The exciting thing that this whole video is supposed to be about is kind of not happening. So without giving too much away, what's happened is a bit of a clerical error. Not on our part, we've done everything right. It's on the other end. Now, it was livestock related. I'm going to say that the clerical error was on the part of TB. I'm not going to reveal anything more than that, because it is still going to happen, but it might be next week now, or it might be in 2 weeks' time, just depending on when this issue gets resolved. But that doesn't mean you should turn off just because the thing that was happening isn't happening. You should stay here. You've got nothing else to do. It's why you're watching me, right? So what I suggest we do is, because it was going to be a livestock-related video, and it now no longer is, we'll make it a livestock-related video by going and looking at some livestock. So we'll do a bit of an update as to how things are doing. We'll look at the heifers, we'll look at the fatteners that are going to get turned out, we'll look at the bulls, and we'll look at the cows that are just over there grazing behind me outside still. Impressive, I know. Heavy clay, Leicestershire, wet, still doing it. And we'll go and review all of that sort of stuff, because the only other thing that I've got going on that's exciting is happening this afternoon, but I can't tell you about that yet. I'm sorry. I won't be able to tell you about that until February when it's official, but it's big news for me anyway. So yeah, I'm sorry, but let's just go and look at some cows. Right, let's go and have a look at these cows. Excuse this gateway. It's a right mess. I don't know what it is, but if I was putting gateways in fields, I would put them in the driest part of the field, but they always put them in the wettest bit. Blows my mind. First and foremost, everyone's favourite cow. Look at her, doggy. To be fair, I got this one pretty well trained. Sit. Stay. She'll still be there in the morning if I don't tell her to move. I'm still honestly in awe of the fact that she just sits there like that. I just think it's incredible. But I just thought I'd bring you out and show you these girls, because you can tell if you look across that field, look, it's a bit muddy, it looks a bit brown, it's a bit horrible, but that's where they've been, and then this is where they're going, across along this sort of grassy, whatever this is, just volunteers. But you can see the cows are looking in pretty good nick. They're quite happy. Here's where they've had some bale and rolled stuff. So this patch here, they've had a fresh patch today, which is that bit over there. But from the wire reel here, coming down here, this bit, they've been on this for 4 or 5 days now. You can see like there's a bit of footprints, but nothing major. And to be fair, this is one of our better fields. It's heavy down that end, and it's kind of heavy just at that end by the hedge. But this bit in the middle is quite nice. Cows are in good condition, working clothes, what we call them, working clothes. I mean, this one's what? Body condition score 3.5, something like that. A lot of these are 3.25, 3.5. 3.25. I mean, really, most of these cows were in body condition score 3.75 to 4 when we PD'd them back in November time. And the idea is that we can carry a bit of extra flesh into the winter, and then we can hopefully bring them down a little bit, use that to reduce the amount of feed that we need to feed them over the winter. And then when we get to calving, they'll be in condition score 3 to 3.25, something like that. They'll hit that spring grass and boom, away they go. Kind of rising plane of nutrition up to a bulling and Bob's your uncle, away we go. But I'm really pleased with them and they're super content. Like I'm out here, quiet, you hear? Nothing. They're not coming to me for food. They're not bothered about anything. They're just happy out here. You can see this is the fresh bit of ground they've had this morning. So they've had this, they're getting a few potholes where they put their feet, but they're happy as Larry. They lay down on it. Works the treat. Absolutely beautiful. So these girls have been on like usually 2 bales of forage. So they'll have like a bale of the whole crop and or a bale of whole crop or a bale of hay. So it's either 2 bales of whole crop or a bale of whole crop, bale of hay. And then if we have a particularly wet day, or if they're just in one of the wetter parts of the field, we have been giving them a bale of straw, just so they've got a bit of extra pickings and something to lie on. And to be quite honest, they've had maybe, I doubt they've had 10 bales, maybe 10 bales of straw across the whole winter, which considering they'd be having 4 a day if they were inside it ain't bad going, is it? But actually I'm really pleased with these, just genuinely doing well. We should have enough grazing now to do them till the end of the month, as long as nothing major happens. And then we've got a TB test end of February, beginning of March, so they'll come in then and we'll probably just house them and they'll stay in then, calve mid-March, straight back out, no messing. Not gonna lie, thinking about moving this gateway though, probably just putting it up there a little bit, because all the ground falls into here from both directions, and well, this is the result. Right, let's have a look at the bulls. Don't want to disturb them too much, but that's a nice looking fella. To be honest, we haven't weighed this stock yet this year. Normally we'd do it first thing in the year. It's like the first job is we'd go and weigh the stock. But what with stabilizer open day and a million and one other things we've had going on, not had a chance to do it. I'll walk some of these guys down and you can have a look, see what you think to them. Okay, well that fell off. That was not ideal. Let's put it on that one. That one will be better. You can probably tell a bit better how they've grown than what I can, because I see them every single day, but I think they're doing quite well. This is one of the reasons why I've not been too stressed about getting them weighed, because they just seem to be growing. You see they look quite nice and full as they're walking down to you. That one that's right in front of the camera, it's been a pain. That one's quite a nice one. It's the first cross stabilizer out of a blue cow. That's why it looks like that. But they seem to be growing. One thing about stabilizers is they weigh like lead. So they might not necessarily look the biggest and tallest, especially compared to a Charolais, which will have a lot more leg, but they will weigh, they're way better than a Charolais, 100%. This is a purebred Yeti. So it's just a chunky little thing. It's a lovely bull. And they're very much peas in the pod, to be honest. I really like them. There's not many of these that are outliers that are doing anything different. A lot of the black ones are first crosses. The red ones are generally pures. And then there's just a couple of, like the blue one, like I said, that's a first cross. You can see that blue one there now looks quite deep. It's chunky. He just looks good. First cross wizard calf. So you guys can be the judge as to whether you think they're growing or not. I think they're doing well. Really do need to get them across the scales and tweak the ration if they're not performing as expected, but yeah, I think they're doing pretty good. Steers and heifers, Charolais. Now these things do look good. They do look well. These are just having herbal lay silage. They've got quite a dry bale, and then one of the herbal lay silage bales that we made late in the autumn, which analyzes like incredibly well, but it's just a little bit on the wet side. So I'm giving them a drier one and then a wetter one and hoping that sort of finds its way in the middle somewhere. That stupid thing's got its head stuck. I'll have to get that out. Let's get someone's head out. There you go. Bloody nightmare. You see what he's done, look? You see what he's cracked he's cracked that bracket. I'll have to get that fixed. Tend to leave these, you can drill these and bolt them so they stay in place, but what we tend to do is leave them loose so that when an animal gets its head sort of stuck, the whole thing will move to the side and it gives it more room to get out. We've found that if we've bolted them in the past, perhaps not now, but when they're smaller, when they're first weaned, they'll stick their heads in and then you cannot get them out and you have to unbolt the whole thing. So just leaving them floating works well, but obviously that one's cracked, so I need to take that off and deal with it. But they're looking pretty good. Free access to straw, and then they just get their silage. And hopefully these guys will soon be out at grazing. And when they do, we may give them a bit of a supplement. I don't know. We're gonna try and finish them out of grass. If we do give them a supplement, it'll just be like a wheat feed pellet. Nothing major, especially when they first go out in the spring. That spring grass is like full of protein. It's bloody good stuff, but it just needs something to hold it in them a bit longer, and hopefully that pellet will just do that for us, but we'll wait and see. Now for the pièce de résistance. These are the stabilizer heifers. They're on exactly the same stuff as the Charolais, but my word, look at them. Just look at them. They're literally on same ration, same silage as next door. There's the same number of them in here, but these things are just flying, absolutely flying. You remember that these things were out grazing and we couldn't keep them in, and then we bought them in, and then they were on some silage, and we did weigh a few just after Christmas. I can't remember why, but we ran a few through the crush. No, just before Christmas. It was just before Christmas, and at that point, they'd been doing about 0.8 of a kilo since leaving the cow. But since they've come inside and they've been on the silage that they're on now, they are flying. They are definitely flying. And they just look like an absolute picture. You'll notice that none of our cattle have got their backs trimmed out because we don't suffer with pneumonia, because we've got like good airflow. That's what that's for. That's what that hole up there is for. In all our sheds are good airflow, so we don't have to trim them out. It's a job we can save ourselves. But they just look a picture. They really do. So hopefully it won't be too long for those heifers and then those steers and heifers go out grazing. And when they do go out grazing, then we'll really start to motor them. So we're really going to put a lot of effort this year into grazing and allocating that grass, predicting the growth every single week, and then budgeting more grass. Normally we do that like every 3 weeks or so. I'm going to do it every single week and just make sure that they are completely just grazed to perfection. That's the goal, because we've got plenty of grass, we've got plenty of quality. We just need to take that time to manage it now. In-calf heifers are just on ad lib, herbal lay silage, some of that dry stuff, and they're doing really well. They look a picture. They're beautiful, shiny, just glossy coats. They look great. I'm really pleased with those. Blue Angus cross cows there in the shed. Those guys are on ad lib straw and a bale of silage every single day, and they're just doing what cows should do. They look good, to be fair. They look really fit, and generally, considering the year, considering the challenges that we've had, everything is going into calving looking pretty good. So I'm fairly pleased. I think Dad's pleased. I hope Mum's pleased. If anything positive has come out from a challenging year, it's that things are going into the next year looking pretty good. Anyway, I'm apologising that this week's video didn't quite work out to plan. It's annoying. It's annoying for me as it is for you, but hopefully it'll all sort itself out next week. We've got a couple of things happening next week. Peter's coming back, so we can get some expertise from Peter on Tonefer, get some of your questions answered as well. But otherwise, yeah, no one needed another hedge cutting video from me, so let's just gloss over it and start again next week. Have a good one. See you in a bit. Ta-da!